Kang stood on the observation deck of his ship, gazing at the blue-green planet that filled the view screen. Earth. He had killed on 27 different worlds, but never this one. The message cube in his hand glowed softly. He squeezed it once. More and the job details flickered in the air before him. Simple text, minimal information, just the way he liked it. Except this time, something felt off. Target: Human Diplomat Una. Location: Earth. Payment: 500,000 credits. Kang blinked. His 4 eyes in succession. That couldn't be right. His standard fee was 50,000 credits. He checked again, but the number remained unchanged. Computer, establish secure connection to Rock, Kang said, his voice low and raspy. The air shimmered, and a hologram appeared. His supervisor, Rock, tall and thin with grey skin that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. You received the details? Rock asked without greeting. Yes, there must be a mistake with the payment, Kang said. Rock's mouth tightened. No mistake, the client insists on the best. That's you. For a human, they're not even part of the Galactic Alliance. They barely have space travel. Kang walked around the hologram, studying Rock's unusually stiff posture. What aren't you telling me? Nothing relevant to the job. Rock's eyes darted away. The target is a diplomat named Una. She's been blocking trade agreements that would give us access to Earth's water reserves. That doesn't explain the fee. Rock sighed, a whistling sound through his narrow nostrils. Leadership wants to add a special note, exercise extreme caution. Kang laughed, a sharp bark of sound. For a human, their bones break if they fall down. Their skin tears if they brush against something sharp. They can't even see in the dark. Just be careful. Rock ended the transmission abruptly. Something was definitely wrong. In 15 years as an assassin, Kang had never received a warning like that. Humans were newcomers to galactic politics, barely 50 years into their first contact with alien species. They were curiosities, not threats. He set coordinates for the nearest transport hub, where he would meet his contact for Earth entry credentials. The ship hummed around him as it prepared for the jump. At the hub, a sprawling space station orbiting, a gas giant, Kang made his way to the assassin's lounge. Few knew of its existence, a quiet bar tucked behind a maintenance corridor where those in his profession could meet safely. 6 other assassins sat scattered around the dimly lit room. Kang recognized most of them. Tool at the bar, the twins Lev and Lin playing some game in the corner, old Dax sleeping in a booth, and 2 younger ones whose names he didn't know. Kang, Tool called out, raising a glass of something that steamed. Heard you got the Earth job. News traveled fast in their circles. Kang nodded and took a seat beside him. Human target, right? Tool continued, voice lower now. That's unusual. You've worked Earth before? Kang asked. Tool shook his head. No, nobody I know has. Well, nobody who came back anyway. A chill ran down Kang's spine. What do you mean? Tool looked uncomfortable. Just rumors, probably nothing. Across the bar, Dax opened one yellow eye. Not nothing, he said, his voice creaking like old metal. 7 sent to Earth for human jobs. 7 never returned. The room went quiet. That's impossible, Kang said. Humans are physically weak. No natural weapons, poor senses. Dax closed his eye again. Think what you want. Lev and Lin had stopped. Their game and were watching him now. Is it true you're getting 10 times standard rate? Lin asked. Kang frowned. How did you know that? Everyone knows, Lev replied. They're desperate. But no one knows why, Lin added. Kang looked around. The room? None of them would meet his gaze now. As he rose to leave, Dax suddenly grabbed his arm with surprising strength for someone so old. Listen carefully, Dax whispered. I was friends with the second one they sent, best tech specialist in the business. Could hack any security, disable any alarm. Know what his last message to me was? Kang waited. They think differently, not just language, everything. Dax's grip tightened. If something goes wrong, don't try to finish the job. Run, just run. Kang pulled his arm free. I don't run from jobs. That's what they all said, Dax muttered, settling back into his booth. Back on his ship, Kang reviewed the sparse file on his target. Diplomat Yuna, 3 years in galactic politics, no special combat training noted, just a regular human female, yet someone was willing to pay 500,000 credits to have her killed. And his own people, killers who faced the deadliest creatures in the galaxy without fear, seemed genuinely afraid of this assignment. Kang checked his weapons one by one, the nerve disruptor, the particle blade, the phase shifter, all in perfect condition. Whatever waited on Earth, he would be ready. As his ship entered Earth's solar system, Kang found himself doing something he hadn't done before any previous job. He recorded a final message, just in case. Kang's ship touched down at the International spaceport outside the city. Disguised as a trade delegate from the outer systems, he easily passed through Earth security checks. Their scanning technology was primitive, unable to detect the weapons merged with his own biology. The air felt heavy in his lungs as he stepped onto Earth soil for the first time. The gravity was slightly stronger than he was used to, but nothing he couldn't handle. What struck him most was the noise: birds, insects, vehicles, and the constant chatter of humans. So many humans. "First time on Earth?" asked the taxi driver, as Kang settled into the back seat. "Yes," Kang replied, keeping his translator set to minimal interaction. "You'll get used to it. Everyone does eventually." Kang doubted that. From his research, humans were chaotic, unpredictable creatures who seemed to thrive on disorder. Their cities were a mess of unplanned growth, their governments a patchwork of competing interests. How they had survived long enough to discover. Space travel was beyond him. He checked into a small hotel 3 blocks from Yuna's apartment. The room was basic, but sufficient for his needs. Within an hour, he had set up his surveillance equipment, tapping into the city's security camera network. With ease. Their cybersecurity was as weak as he'd expected. On the first day, Kang watched Yuna through his monitors. She left her apartment at precisely 7:30 a.m., walked to a small cafe where she ordered the same breakfast, something called avocado toast, then took public transportation to the Galactic Embassy. She returned home at 6:45 p.m., ordered food, delivery, and spent the evening reading or watching entertainment screens. Nothing remarkable. Physically, she was exactly what he'd expected. Small, soft, with no natural armor or visible defenses. Humans had blunt teeth, no claws, weak muscles compared to most sentient species, and sensory capabilities that were laughable. They couldn't see in darkness, couldn't hear ultrasonic frequencies, couldn't detect pheromones, and had no electroreceptors. They were, by all objective measures, easy prey. On the second day, Kang decided to observe closer. He positioned himself in the cafe where she took breakfast, sitting at a corner table with a clear view. When Yuna entered, something unexpected happened. An Arcturian diplomat, a respected elder from a warrior race, was already seated. When Yuna passed his table, the Arcturian stood up and bowed deeply, not the casual acknowledgement given to equals, but the formal bow reserved for those held in highest esteem. Yuna merely nodded in return, as if such deference was normal. Later at the embassy, Kang watched through hacked security feeds as Yuna attended a trade negotiation. Present were representatives from 7 different worlds, including a Vrex ambassador. The Vrex were feared throughout the galaxy for their ferocity and pride. Yet when Yuna spoke, the Vrex ambassador fell silent and listened intently. "That can't be right," Kang muttered to himself. He checked his equipment, certain there must be some malfunction. That night he broke into the embassy's secure database. If there was something special about this human, something that explained the unusual respect she commanded, it would be in the classified files. What he found sent a chill through his body. First, confirmation. 7 assassins had indeed been sent to Earth with human targets over the past 30 years. All were top professionals. None had returned. The files contained no bodies, no evidence of capture, simply nothing, as if they had vanished. More disturbing were the gaps in the files, entire sections redacted or deleted. In his experience, information was only hidden when it contained something frightening enough that even professional killers shouldn't know it. On the third day, Kang followed Yuna on foot, maintaining distance, testing his theory that humans had poor awareness of their surroundings. He was right, she never detected him. Twice he could have completed his mission with minimal effort, yet he hesitated. "What am I missing?" he whispered to himself as he watched her enter a small bookshop. Through the window, he observed as she chatted with the owner, laughing at something. Such a fragile creature. So easy to kill. An hour later, Yuna sat alone in a park, eating lunch from a small container. Kang positioned himself on a bench nearby, pretending to read a news tablet. That's when he noticed a Thraxi security officer, recognizable by the distinctive ridge pattern on his neck, sitting at another bench, watching Yuna while pretending not to. Kang frowned. Thraxi were elite bodyguards, rarely seen outside their home system. What was one doing here watching his target? That evening, Kang returned to his hotel room and laid out his weapons. Everything was ready for tomorrow's mission. Yet doubt nagged at him. 7 assassins, 7 failures, the strange respect from other species. The Thraxi Guard. He accessed his ship's computer remotely and queried the Galactic Historical Database. Search. Human conflict history. The results made him sit back in shock. Humans had fought wars against themselves continuously throughout their recorded history. Not diplomatic conflicts or resource disputes like most species, but total wars of annihilation. They had developed thousands of different ways to kill each other, refined over centuries. Unlike most species that evolved fighting different predators, humans had primarily evolved fighting themselves, other intelligent beings who could think, plan, and adapt just as they could. They're combat specialists, Kang realized with growing unease. Not physically, but mentally. For the first time in his career, he began to wonder if he had underestimated his target. The night air was cool against Kang's skin as he climbed the outside of Yuna's apartment building. His claws, naturally adapted for scaling rough surfaces, found easy purchase on the concrete walls. Humans, with their soft fingers and blunt nails, would need ropes and equipment for such a climb. Another weakness. He reached the 15th floor and paused outside Yuna's window. His thermal sensors detected one heat signature inside, Yuna sitting in what appeared to be her living area. Perfect. She was alone. Kang applied a small device to the window's edge. It emitted a pulse that disabled the building's basic security system. Child's play compared to the fortresses he'd infiltrated on other worlds. He slid the window open silently and slipped inside, his body automatically adjusting its coloration to blend with the shadows of the unlit room. Yuna sat with her back to him, watching something on a screen. News reports about the ongoing trade. Negotiations. Her posture was relaxed, unaware. Kang moved silently across the room, his specially designed footwear absorbing any sound. He activated his nerve disruptor, a thin, needle-like weapon that would cause instant paralysis followed by quick, painless death. No mess, no sound. The perfect assassination tool 3 steps away. 2 steps. 1. Kang lunged. The nerve disruptor aimed precisely at the base of Yuna's neck, the quickest path to a human's central nervous system. What happened next defied everything he knew about human capabilities. Yuna moved. Not just moved, she exploded into action, rolling sideways out of her chair as if she'd known he was there all along. The nerve disruptor pierced empty air where her neck had been a fraction of a second earlier. Kang recovered quickly, pivoting to track her movement. But she was already up, facing him, her eyes sharp and focused. Not wide with fear as he expected, but narrowed with calculation. "You're the one they sent?" Her voice was calm, too calm. "I expected someone bigger." Kang didn't waste breath responding. He activated his secondary weapon, a paralysis field that should drop any living creature in a 3-meter radius. Yuna's eyes flicked to his wrist, where the device glowed. In a fluid motion, she grabbed a metal lamp from beside her and hurled it directly at him. The timing was perfect. The lamp intercepted the paralysis field just as it activated, the metal conducting and dispersing the energy harmlessly. "That was some kind of stun weapon, right?" Yuna said, already moving again, putting the couch between them. "Clever, but I've seen better. Impossible. How could she recognize his technology? How could she know to use metal as a conductor?" Kang switched tactics, deploying his phase shifter. a device that briefly put him out of sync with normal space-time, allowing him to move through solid objects. He phased through the couch, appearing directly in front of Yuna, claws extended. She responded not with panic, but with precise action. Throwing herself backward while simultaneously flinging the contents of a drinking glass at his face, the liquid passed through his phase-shifted body harmlessly, but as soon as it did, Yuna hit a light switch on the wall. The room flooded with brightness, and Kang realized too late what she'd done. The liquid was water, now scattered in droplets, throughout his partially phased form. When the light hit the droplets, they created a refractive pattern that destabilized his phase shift. Kang crashed back into normal space-time, momentarily disoriented. A human should not know about phase shifter vulnerabilities. That information wasn't even common among most advanced species. Before he could recover, Yuna had grabbed something from a drawer, a simple kitchen knife, not an energy blade or molecular. Carter just shaped metal, primitive, yet the way she held it with perfect balance and grip sent alarm signals through Kang's mind. "Your technology is impressive," Yuna said, circling him slowly, "but you rely on it too much." Kang deployed his final weapon, a neural scrambler that would disrupt any organic brain within range. The air rippled as the invisible wave expanded outward. Yuna immediately dropped to the floor and rolled beneath a table, grabbing what looked like a small music device as she moved. She pressed something on it, and a high-pitched sound filled the room, exactly the frequency needed to disrupt his neural scrambler. Cold fear, an emotion Kang had never experienced during a mission, spread through his body. This human had countered every advanced weapon in his arsenal with household items and what appeared to be improvised responses, not lucky guesses, deliberate, knowledgeable counters. How? He found himself asking. How do you know these things? Yuna stood now, knife still in hand, watching him with eyes that seemed to see everything. "We've been fighting ourselves for thousands of years," she said simply. "Every weapon you've imagined we've already used against each other. Every defense you've developed we've already found a way around. That's what you people never understand about humans." She took a step forward, and for the first time in his life, Kang took a step back. "We don't fight to win," Yuna continued. "We fight to survive, and that makes us very, very dangerous." Kang realized the veteran's warnings had been right. He should run now, before it was too late. Kang stumbled through the emergency exit of Yuna's apartment building, his breathing ragged. For the first time in his career, he was retreating, running away from a target. The shame of it burned, but not as much as the fear that still pulsed through his body. He pressed a hand against the wound in his side, where Yuna had somehow managed to cut him with that primitive metal knife. His specialized healing glands were already closing the injury, but the memory of how she'd inflicted it remained sharp. "Impossible," he muttered, ducking into a narrow alley as a police vehicle cruised past. "It's not possible." But it had happened. Her simple human female, with no apparent special training or abilities, had not only survived his attack but had nearly killed him instead. Not with luck, but with knowledge, skill, and a terrifying ability to improvise. Back at his hotel, Kang sealed the door and activated his personal shield generator. No one would disturb him until he figured out what was happening. He needed answers. Using his ship's remote connection, Kang bypassed normal access channels and dove deep into the Galactic Confederation's most classified databases. If there was information about humans that explained what he'd experienced, it would be buried where few could find it. Hours passed as Kang sifted through encrypted files, following digital breadcrumbs deeper into the system. Finally, he found something. A research study commissioned after the first assassin disappeared on Earth 50 years ago. The file was massive, containing thousands of historical records, observations, and analyses. Kang began reading, and cold understanding slowly replaced his confusion. Unlike most sentient species in the galaxy, who evolved fighting against different predators or harsh environments, humans had primarily evolved fighting each other. Their history was an endless catalogue of wars, conflicts, and violence, human against human, intelligent mind against intelligent mind. "Look at this," Kang whispered, scrolling through images of ancient human battles. They've been doing this for thousands of years. Their weapons had evolved from sticks and stones to nuclear devices that could destroy entire planets. But more frightening than their tools was their mindset. One section of the report analyzed human conflicts throughout their history. While other species typically fought until one side achieved dominance, humans showed a disturbing pattern. The apparently defeated side would often adapt, develop new strategies or technologies, and return stronger than before. They're selected for comebacks, Kang realized. Their entire evolutionary history rewards those who can lose, learn, and try again with a new approach. The file contained interviews with the few non-human survivors of serious conflicts with humans. A military commander from the Orion cluster described it. They don't fight like warriors. They fight like cornered animals that have learned to use tools. They'll break any rule, try any tactic, use any weapon, and they'll keep coming. Deeper in the report, Kang found detailed analyses of human psychology. Compared to most sentient species, humans showed exceptional cognitive flexibility and creative problem-solving, especially under threat. They excelled at using unrelated objects in new ways, exactly as Yuna had done with her household items. They see possibilities where we see only what is, Kang read aloud. A chair to us is a chair. To a human under threat, it's a shield, a weapon, a barricade, or a distraction. But the most disturbing section came near the end, a study of the 7 assassins who had vanished. The report contained no bodies, no proof of their deaths. Instead, it offered a theory. They'd been captured, studied, and their technology and techniques analyzed by humans who now understood how to counter those exact methods. Each failed assassination attempt hadn't just eliminated an assassin, it had educated humans about how assassinations worked. They were learning, adapting. The final page of the report held a single paragraph. Based on extensive study, this commission concludes that humans represent a unique threat profile within the known galaxy. While individually weak and technologically primitive, their psychological adaptability, pattern recognition, and tactical creativity make them exceptionally dangerous opponents. Their evolutionary history of constant warfare against equally intelligent adversaries has created a species uniquely skilled at countering intelligent threats. Therefore, this commission recommends all assassination attempts against human targets are hereby forbidden. The date on that recommendation was 43 years ago, yet someone had still hired him to kill Yuna. Kang sat back, the full implications washing over him. The humans weren't feared for their strength or technology. They were feared because they were predators, evolved specifically to hunt other intelligent life. Not hunt, Kang corrected himself. To counter. To defeat. He pulled up another file, this one a population census. Humans numbered only a few billion, a tiny fraction of the galactic community. Yet they held positions of influence far beyond their numbers or technological development. Now he understood why. Other species were keeping them close, treating them with respect, ensuring they remained allies rather than enemies. That explained the Arcturians' bow to Yuna, the Vrex ambassador's attention, the Thraxi guard. They weren't protecting her. They were watching her. Kang closed the files and stared at the blank screen, his mind racing. For the first time in his life, he would fail to complete a contract, not because he couldn't, but because he shouldn't. Some targets weren't worth the risk, not just to himself but to his entire species. The journey back to his homeworld felt longer than any mission Kang had ever undertaken. His ship hummed quietly around him, but inside his mind, thoughts crashed like storm waves. Everything he believed about his place in the galaxy had shifted. When he docked at the central port, his supervisor Rock was waiting, face tight with anticipation. "Is it done?" Rock asked as soon as they were alone in a secure chamber. Kang met his gaze steadily. "No, and it won't be." Rock's skin paled. "What happened? Did you encounter security problems? We can provide additional resources." "I'm declining the contract," Kang interrupted. "Keep the advance payment. I'm forfeiting the rest." In 15 years as an assassin, Kang had never declined a contract after accepting it. The shock on Rock's face would have been amusing under different circumstances. "That's not possible," Rock finally managed. "The client has paid. They expect results." "Then they should have told me the truth about humans." Rock's eyes narrowed. "What truth?" "That they're different. That we've lost 7 assassins to them already. That there's a 43-year-old directive forbidding assassination attempts against them." Kang leaned forward. "That directive exists for a reason, Rock. I found out the hard way." The chamber door slid open, and 3 senior officials entered. Director Pax, Security Chief Hero, and Elder Jin, who rarely left the Central Governance Tower. Their presence for a simple mission debriefing was unprecedented. "We need to discuss what happened," Director Pax said without preamble. Kang was escorted to a larger chamber, where the walls were lined with transmission blockers. Whatever was said here would never leave this room. "Tell us everything," Elder Jin said, her ancient voice barely above a whisper. For the next hour, Kang recounted his experience in detail, his observations of Yuna, her seemingly normal routine, and then the shocking confrontation in her apartment. He described how she had countered each of his weapons, with ordinary objects and quick thinking. "She knew," Kang explained. "Not specifically about me, but she understood the principles behind each technology I used. She didn't panic. She adapted." "And then?" Security Chief Hero prompted. "I researched their history after I escaped," Kang continued. "Humans evolved fighting other humans. Their primary predator wasn't some mindless beast. It was other thinking, beings exactly like themselves. For thousands of years they've been locked in an evolutionary arms race against their own kind." The officials exchanged troubled glances. "Their bodies are weak," Kang said, "but their minds are weapons. They see patterns we miss. They improvise in ways we can't imagine. They think of 10 solutions while we're still processing." "The problem," Director Pax sighed heavily. "The client insisted. They believed their resources would make the difference where others failed." "Who was the client?" Kang asked. "That's not relevant," Hero cut in. "What matters is how we proceed. This failure will have consequences." "It wasn't a failure," Elder Jin said quietly. "It was a wisdom finding. Kang learned what we needed to know, that the directive was correct all along." A soft chime interrupted them. Director Pax checked the communication panel and froze. "What is it?" Hero asked. "A message from Earth, from the human diplomat Yuna." Director Pax looked up, eyes wide. "She's requesting a formal meeting with the Confederation Council and specifically asks for the presence of, quote, the one who was sent to kill me." The room fell silent. "She knows who I am," Kang said flatly. "Impossible," Hero replied. "Your identity was completely disguised." "She's human," Kang said simply, as if that explained everything. And somehow it did. 3 days later, Kang stood in the Great Council, chamber of the Confederation. Representatives from 200 worlds filled the circular room, an audience that would normally make him deeply uncomfortable. Assassins preferred shadows to spotlights. The doors opened and Yuna entered. She looked smaller in this setting, surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, many towering over her. Yet she walked with steady confidence to the center of the chamber, directly across from Kang. "Thank you for coming," she said, addressing the entire assembly but looking straight at him. "I believe we have something important to discuss." "You asked for me," Kang responded. "Why, to identify me for punishment?" Yuna smiled slightly. "If I wanted punishment, I could have killed you in my apartment." Murmurs ran through the chamber. Few believed a human could have overpowered one of the galaxy's most efficient killers. "Then why am I here?" Kang asked. "Because I want to understand," Yuna replied. "I want to know why someone would pay to have me killed when I've worked for nothing but peaceful trade between our peoples. And I want you to understand something about humans that your research probably didn't tell you." She stepped closer, and Kang tensed involuntarily. "You learned that we're dangerous because we adapt, because we've evolved fighting ourselves." Yuna continued. "That's true, but it's not our most important quality." "What is?" Kang found himself genuinely curious. "We forgive," Yuna said simply. "We have the capacity to end cycles of violence voluntarily. We can choose mercy over revenge, understanding over hatred, We've had to learn this precisely because we're so good at fighting. Kang blinked in confusion. You want peace with someone who tried to kill you? I want understanding with all species, including yours, Yuna corrected. Violence is easy. Peace is the real challenge. Looking around the chamber, Kang saw the expressions on the faces of the assembled representatives. Surprise, confusion, and in some cases, fear. And suddenly, he understood what truly made humans dangerous. It wasn't just their ability to fight, but their ability to choose not to. They could extend mercy when everyone expected hatred, forge connections where others saw only enemies. You're right, Kang said, addressing both Yuna and the Council. Humans aren't feared for strength. They're feared because they see possibilities where we see only fixed paths, including the possibility of turning enemies into allies. As the Council erupted in discussion, Kang realized that in the complex, dangerous game of galactic politics, humans had just revealed their most powerful move, and it wasn't what anyone expected.